My name is Maureen Jerry. I'm a management consultant at Intellecap. The Sankalp Africa Summit yesterday reaffirmed its dedication to catalyze the entrepreneurship ecosystem to solve global challenges creatively and sustainably. We believe that entrepreneurs are reshaping Africa's economic opportunities by offering choices to improve the lives of millions. As you go forth to network today, this is a call to action to continue making those choices. Working with enterprises for the last 7 years, I have seen firsthand the impact of entrepreneurship in creating jobs for the community and for young people like me. In a continent defined by high levels of unemployment, entrepreneurship is one of the valuable responses and opportunity to tackle these social challenges. At Sankalp, the entrepreneur is at the core of everything that we do, and the reason we've hosted Sankalp for the last 10 years. In tandem with our theme, Transforming Impact, today we'd like to explore the fundamental shifts necessary for Africa's growth. Our sessions today will be focused on exploring the futuristic solutions and technologies that could change Africa's trajectory to development. Emerging technologies are raising standards of living by providing access to new tools of production, scalable energy systems, and globalized distribution networks. Information and communication technologies have opened up a wide range of economic opportunities and transformed the lives of millions of people across Africa. To further this, we are excited to announce that Intellecap is joining hands with the Celestial Earth, an organization working towards development of a comprehensive and integrated climate model-based policy assessment framework for developing countries. This partnership will allow us to support stakeholders, understand and design different transition pathways to effectively address climate change. We are also doing a masterclass on climate modeling today at 3:30. To know more and see how the partnership can help you, and reach out to climate@intellecap.net. Today, all our sessions in the agenda are focused on the future of Africa, and I'm especially excited and personally will be attending some sessions, like inclusive value chains, that is, they're exploring experiences for gender mainstreaming interventions. These sessions will be hosted in collaborations with IDRC. I'll also be attending Scaling Nutrition Impact through Entrepreneurship Support. This session is hosted in collaboration with the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition. This is to just mention a few sessions that will be happening today. I have also seen on the agenda there will be a lot of discussion zones which will be interesting for you to be able to attend. So please make sure you join as many as you can. I also have an announcement. Yesterday, one of our attendees lost their mobile phone. So if you have seen it, please pass it on to the registration area. It's an iPhone 8. But let's kick off the day. Let's begin the day with a focus on G20 and what it means for the Global South. To shed some spotlight on this, let me call Vineet Rai, founder and chairman of Avishka Group, who also is on the G20 task force. Welcome, Vineet.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here only for a minute, so don't get too worried. So as you must have heard of G20, the group that actually comprises of the largest 20 economies of the world. India has actually taken over the presidentship of G20, and as part of its own thinking, has launched Startup 20 as an engagement group, which earlier used to be part of B20. B20 is actually an engagement group that has existed for a long period of time and represents large corporate largely, and startups were a small part of it. India has decided to actually expand and give startups across the globe a platform, a global platform, to not only mobilize global capital, but also to provide strong opportunity for those who are outside the G20 as well. What you will hear now is a small video from the chair of the G20 Council, G20 Engagement Council, task force on which I also serve. exhorting the G200 to think about all the economies of the world to look at this platform as not just a G20 platform, but a platform for all of us. And this is the video that they have sent. And we'll also actually encourage you to think about Startup 20X, which is like TEDx, a platform that actually wants to engage with the world so that we can have a definition for startups, specifically those who are working on goals related to impact and SDG. So maybe if you can play the video, and hopefully each one of us would be able to see some benefit flowing to the startups of the world from this.
Greetings, everybody. I am Chintan Vaishnav. I am the chair of the Startup 20 engagement group under the G20 presidency of India. As many of you may know, Startup 20, this is the first time in the history of G20 that startups have the same level of emphasis as large corporations. Typically, B20 or the Business 20 has carried the flag for the large corporations as well as startups, but this time Startup 20 provides an equal platform to startups. The opportunity in front of us is to really leverage the innovative spirit and agility of the startups worldwide to solve some of our most pressing challenges, and to use the scale of the corporations to really bring it to the whole world. So this is the first time we have this opportunity. In this spirit, there are two initiatives that I particularly want to bring to your notice. The first one is the Startup 20X. This is a TEDx-like platform. So anything that's happening that's related to innovation and entrepreneurship in your ecosystems, activity that's already happening and that's exciting for all of you, can be co-branded with Startup 20 to put it up on the global map so the world gets to know about it. The second thing that I want to bring to your notice is that the spirit of G20 under India's presidency is what in Sanskrit is called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or that the earth is one family. And so in that spirit, we hope to build Startup 20 as a group that may be a group built by the G20 nations, but it's really for the G200. So all nations of the world who can benefit from the creativity of many risk takers all over the world who make our world a better place. And in that sense, again, Africa, Southeast Asia, all economies are welcome to participate in the platform Startup 20. So I wish, I hope that you will consider participating in this and make the best of it. We will welcome you with great enthusiasm to hear from your ecosystems and to hear about your aspirations that all of us can collectively work on. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Vineet Rai, for bringing this to our attention, and hopefully everyone has been called to action. For the first session, we'll have a session, a fireside chat. The ideas and concepts of the narratives explored here today will inspire the imagination of countless innovators, entrepreneurs, and inventors, inspiring them to pursue innovations and discoveries which might otherwise be inconceivable. Sci-fi Impact is a future of development's progress, and this session will explore the ideas of several impact visionaries who will paint for us their vision of the future where futuristic technology meets development. So I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Intellecap's CEO, Vikas Bali, Intellecap's Director and Partner Africa, Kanika Yadav, and our moderator, the award-winning journalist, Victoria Rubadiri, for a fireside chat on imagining the future of sci-fi impact. Welcome, guys. A round of applause as they come on stage.
Okay. Great. Am I audible now? Yes, I can hear myself in the back of the room. Thank you so much, Vikas and Karnika, for sitting in on this conversation. You know, yesterday a lot of the focus was on reflection. The last 10 years, Sankalp Africa, 10 years on. And we want to kind of forecast a bit in this discussion. Where do we go a decade from now? What are the possibilities, the opportunities? And it was great hearing from different partners about the wins, the lessons that have been learned over the years, especially when it comes to strengthening the entrepreneurial ecosystem on the continent. Vikas, let me begin with you. Emerging markets, developing countries are expected to account for 80% of global growth, and this will be in the next 2 years. Extremely exciting statistics when you think about it. But what would be even more exciting is if Africa is part of that growth. So how do we get more entrepreneurs in on that trajectory? How do we make them more competitive over the next 2 years?
Thanks, Victoria, for the question. And before I answer that question, I am sure that there are a lot of entrepreneurs in this room. Let me salute each one of you, because the kind of challenges that you're trying to tackle, society has not been able to find answers to them for many, many centuries. So I salute each one of you for believing that you can overcome the challenges that the environment throws at you, and for helping achieve a better balance between people, planet, and profits. In line with that, Victoria, the opportunities for entrepreneurs to really move us on the journey of SDGs is immense. I'd like to classify the entrepreneurs in broadly 3 buckets. The first is the early startups. The next is people who have grown their business to some extent. And last but not the least are where the business models are maturing. And each of these entrepreneurs really needs to think about their opportunities and challenges in a different manner. For the entrepreneurs who are at maturity stage in terms of business models, I would urge them to think of 3 things: scale, scale, and scale. That should be the focus of all entrepreneurs whose business models have been baked. You are on the journey of trying to attract commercial capital when you're at that stage. And all investors are looking for hypergrowth. They're investing because they think they'll be able to generate a lot of returns, even from people who are trying to solve developmental challenges. As Vineet puts it very eloquently, money has a strange spirituality. It will find its way to the highest returns. So all of you budding entrepreneurs who are trying to leave the planet in a better place, who have their business models baked, it's scale, scale, scale. The second set of entrepreneurs who are at that growth stage where business models are getting signed up, cleaned up, it's extremely important to get your unit economics in place. More importantly, to be able to position with economies of scale, what will your unit economics look like? This will prepare you in your journey for getting to commercial scale. And last but not the least, entrepreneurs who've got great ideas, but are still at an idea stage. There are 4 I's that you need to think about: your intent, what you're trying to solve, your ideas which are backing up that solution, your implementation plan to get to your final outcomes, and the indicators. You're at a stage where you're trying to get more philanthropic capital, grant capital, angel investors to come and support you. So prepare your pitches, keeping these 4 I's in your mind, and you will hopefully find resonance with a lot of the investor community. For the early stage entrepreneurs at the idea stage, one very, very important resource is human resources talent, and that gets ignored very often. You have to be in a position to demonstrate your existing team and how you will be able to attract better management talent going forward over the next couple of years. That is going to be a very, very important consideration for any investor of any hue, whether it be philanthropic, grant, or angel investor, to really help you scale up on your plans. So I'll take a pause here, Victoria. I don't know if I've done justice to your question.
No, absolutely. I've been taking my own notes here. But Karnika, let me come to you. You know, the running theme over the course of yesterday into today has been transformational change. And so let's kind of get practical about that. You need innovative solutions, which need innovative financing to make that happen, right? So what kind of financing mechanisms would you recommend need to be put in place, especially to unleash this whole idea of sci-fi impact for Africa?
Thank you. Thanks, Victoria, for that. And since we are basing all this conversation today on sci-fi, and even in the later part of the morning, we will hear about AI and the other innovative technologies that are coming up. I think the financing mechanism which were used as of now may not be relevant in the future, because what we have been using is the traditional ways, mostly the traditional ways of equity, debt, or some sort of a blending is done, but still a majority of equity, debt combined with grant mechanisms there. I think the innovation needs to come in what this capital is being used for. So the capital needs to be less restrictive in that way and more flexible and patient to assist these more innovative businesses. And I'll say why. One of the biggest challenge that these innovative businesses will face in the future, and linking to what Vikas has said, is the human resource or the talent pool. So the education system is not preparing the talent pool for all those innovative technologies. So a lot of businesses will have to themselves train the people on those innovative technologies that are coming in the that will be needed in the market. They will have to put a lot of finances as well as time into that. So one of the ways or the mechanism, the financing should also cater to sort of assist these businesses in developing the talent pool that will be required for the future. Then also combining the different forms of the capital that are available as of now, and maybe using them in the form of, like, as we have the green bonds, which are becoming very prominent as of now in the climate and climate financing. Similarly, we will have to issue, like, for instance, sci-fi bond or technology bonds, which are able to give capital to these type of businesses. I'll take a pause here, yeah.
No, I want to kind of stick on that issue of climate financing, because climate change is now one of the most critical crises that we're dealing with globally. Just the other day, US First Lady Jill Biden was in the country, and she visited one of the worst affected counties, Kajiado. And she said something really interesting. She said, look, right now the US is funding about 70% of the aid that's coming to the Horn of Africa. And she said, not to say that this isn't a serious crisis, it is. But there's also the Ukraine war. There's also, you know, the earthquake in Turkey. And so they're competing interests. And so there's need now for local solutions and innovation. How do we get global developers to create a conducive environment, especially for tech entrepreneurs on the continent, to come up with these solutions?
That's a great question. This is very topical. We are seeing the impact of climate change in our lives on a daily basis. I don't think at any point in time I have sweated in Nairobi in March at the Sankalp Summit, so it's a clear indication that things are changing. Getting capital from a climate perspective is absolutely essential, but there are a couple of prerequisites. And the first one is political will. I give you an analogy with what's happened on the manufacturing front. China has become the factory for the world. Yeah. All the products and services that we are consuming, products particularly, are coming in from China. What stops the African continent from becoming the provider of renewable solar energy for the entire planet? The International Solar Alliance has developed a concept of one planet, one grid, one sun, right? So the opportunity is there for the continent to pick up the challenge. There is a huge energy crisis, in some ways sparked by the war as well. So the opportunity exists. Question is, will there be political will for a few countries to come together and create the opportunity for entrepreneurs to thrive? Apart from the political will, what is also required for the entrepreneurs to succeed is creating that enabling ecosystem. And the first step towards that is governments, local governments need to signal demand. I'm not necessarily saying they need to generate the demand, but they need to signal demand. For instance, we are right now at KSMS. There must be a lot of schools and colleges all across the country. Can the government signal demand that all the lighting in all the schools will be through solar? The moment the government signals its intent, entrepreneurs will start seeing the opportunity to create their business models. So that's the first step. The second step is to make sure that there is a very clear policy guideline. We have seen across the global south a lot of policy changes in the adoption of solar pricing, tariffs, grid connectivity, all of that. That needs a very, very consistent set of policies. Entrepreneurs thrive when there is clarity. And that's the next enabling factor for the entrepreneurs to become successful. The third is a lot of ecosystem builders are here at Sankalp, and they need to start bringing their pools of capital together. Throwing a little bit of money behind something and a little bit of money somewhere else is not the most optimal way of utilizing capital. It has to become concerted. You have to do more with fewer, and that is the way in which business models will also be able to scale. So the grant givers need to come together and provide that initial seed funding for all kinds of entrepreneurs, right? Be it in the transition, be it in adaptation, they need to come in and support, particularly on the adaptation models. They need to come and support the entrepreneurs with their grant capital. The developmental financial institutions then need to come in, create the large structures where large utility scale plants can get the right kind of finance going in order to be able to catalyze commercial capital that will follow through. So these are typically the steps that one would expect to be adopted for the entrepreneurs to scale up the business models.
Karnika, let me bring you in here because it can't be denied how transformative ICT has been for millions of Africans. But the reality is, over the next 10 years, innovations will need to be more inclusive, definitely more agile to respond to unforeseen crises. COVID showed us that. So what would you say institutions need to do and the approaches they need to start kind of putting in to spur more innovation that is inclusive and agile to adapt?
That's a very interesting question, Victoria. And the corporates and the entrepreneurs coming together can play a very critical role in spurring these innovations. While entrepreneurs are able to bring the agility which is required to spur these innovations, but on the other hand, the corporates, the big multinationals which are across Africa, many of them, are able to bring the resources, the data, the customers, the distribution channels that are needed for these entrepreneurs to test their solutions, take them to the market. So coming together of these two different players will be very, very critical to spur the innovations. The private sector, the innovations needs to be private sector led. And we have a lot of examples of already that is happening here in the continent, and I'll just give an example of what we have seen very regularly here in Kenya. M-Pesa, which was launched by Safaricom about like 15 years or back, 2008, 2006, something like that. And if I ask here how many people have used M-Pesa in their life, even if they're not based here, I think everybody will raise the hand. And how many people have used cash in the last 1 week? Very limited people will raise the hand, the people who are living in Kenya. So, and M-Pesa has been able to build a network infrastructure on which lot of new innovative solutions have come up. For instance, you can actually order your medicines through the app, and the payment can be done through the M-Pesa. You can order food, the payment can be done through M-Pesa. Anything and everything. There's a lot of fintech solutions which are using the infrastructure of the M-Pesa as well. And M-Pesa or Safaricom has actually provided that platform as well to these entrepreneurs to use it and develop their solutions. So that's why it's very critical for these two players to come together and bring their strength, each of the strength that they have, and combine their individual strength to spur the innovations across the continent.
So we have a few minutes to go, about 3 minutes to go, and I just want to kind of pose the same question to the two of you. This is a conversation about looking forward, but I want to stretch your minds a bit for you two to give me an out-of-the-box idea on how we can start to tackle some of the more pressing development issues that Africa is facing. So, Vikas, I'll begin with you.
Let me do some crystal ball gazing. All the technology providers, could you create nano technologies which would help every household create their own source of electricity, generate their own water, and use hydroponics, aquaponics to create their own food? This is at the consumer end. At the farm end, we need to create disruptive agricultural technologies in making sure that the farmers are able to do their farming practices in a much more climate resilient manner. Be it using drones to supply the nutrients, fertilizers, or be it using satellite imagery to tell them what is the nature of the soil and what is it that they need to do from a tomorrow or day after perspective. So that's at the farm gate level. The third is the producers of all products and services. All products need to have an environmental footprint. It's a barcode or something. All consumers can decide what is it that they want to purchase basis the environmental footprint of the product. And in this way, we can encourage society, consumers to move towards adopting more environmentally friendly products. That is extremely important for the survival of the planet. I'll take a pause here. I don't know if I've been brave enough.
Okay, so just in the interest of time, I can see the time kicking. Vikas has already mentioned about some of the innovative technologies or the out-of-the-box thinking. What I'll say, just adding to his point, is make them affordable. And make them at for mass and at scale, because a lot of technologies either exist in this part of the world or in the other part of the world, but then those technology solutions are not affordable for most of the people living in the continent. So create solutions so that those technologies are affordable for everyone.
Certainly, thank you so much. That was literally in 37 seconds. Good thing this is not the Oscars where they have the music to usher us off the stage, but thank you so much, Vikas and Karnika, for your insights. One more round of applause for my panel. And that does it for this fireside chat. Maureen, the floor is yours.
So thank you very much to the panel for that amazing session. Please give them another round of applause. We'll go to another segment now. To further the futuristic discussions that we've been having, we have invited a couple of tech entrepreneurs to share their vision and the future of Africa. We've brought our first series of TED Talks. And the first speaker is John Kamara. John Kamara is the founder and CEO of Adenian Labs, and he's by heart a tech entrepreneur with over 20 successful years of experience working in new market acquisitions across various technologies, verticals in Europe, America, Asia, and Africa. John is one of Africa's leading experts on how businesses can leverage key technology trends, instantly transform organizations, and drive competitive advantage. John Kamara is uniquely a Pan-African renowned business leader, successful entrepreneur, investor, consultant, mentor, and distinguished speaker holding multiple roles. Please welcome John Kamara.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sure you all enjoyed the exercise earlier on. We're going to watch a quick video first of all.
How far have we come with technology? And with it the possibility of annihilation as a species. Technology is neither good nor bad. How we use it is what makes the difference. We are building a future where technology and mankind forge the path forward. With data from your smartwatch, smartphone, laptop, and other smart devices, we can detect a potential health issue before you know it. With that data, we could recommend the best solutions, practices, alert emergency services before an incident. With Moesha, our smart AI, we use data from your smart devices to make sure you're always healthy. By combining your health data with climate data, we can predict weather-related health issues and ensure there's no shortage of medicine, and you are always prepared for it. Hospitals can have capacity, and researchers can have the right data to provide the best health solutions. The first ever life-driven metaverse built on health and climate data. Through Afia Record, we've been building an ecosystem driven by your health data. Join us as we undertake this bold journey to build a future where our descendants are flourishing. We believe a healthier world starts with a healthier you. Afia Record, building the foundation for a data-driven future where your health comes first.
My name is John Kamara. Pleasure to be here. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to just quickly talk about what I see as the future of Africa, and it's a personal opinion. I just came from Cannes, where I was at the World AI Festival, and I was in a room that was made up of over $340 billion of people and services, and there was only 2 Africans in that room. There was myself and one other person from South Africa. And we were talking about the future of the continent and the future of the world. And I want to just share some facts with you, first of all, about either you like it or not, it is happening. You get that? You like it, you don't like it, it is happening around you. In AI research, there's just about 42,000 real verified, 42,000 real verified researchers in the world of artificial intelligence. I'm not talking about machine learning. I'm talking about deep learning artificial intelligence. That's self-learning autonomous engines that are built to redefine and reshape how you think. And most of these researchers are in the US, in Europe, Asia, and now India. There's 0.1% of these people in Africa. First fact. Second one, there's about $27 billion in funding last year that went into, before ChatGPT, that went into AI, R&D. 0.18% was in Africa. Most of it was in Cape Town, not anywhere else. Cape Town, not Africa. The market size by 2030 is predicted to be over $13 trillion, even more than climate change market. Do you know how much money Africa will make out of this $13 trillion at the pace we're going? Anybody has an idea? Anybody? 0.8%. So, what's interesting here, I'm going to move to the next slide. So, for me, AI is the future of the world. Wherever way we look at it, and in Cannes, we talked about inclusive AI. Inclusive AI means everybody has to be able to participate in this new form of technology that is changing how we interact with the world. It's not sci-fi. It's no longer sci-fi. I'm sure those of you who watch great sci-fi movies. It is just simple reality. And in that reality, healthcare is one thing that I love. I believe is the foundation of human life. I was talking to a lot of people in one of the DFIs yesterday, and they talked about agriculture, and I said, yes, it's important, but I'll tell you a secret, right, which you probably know. If a farmer is sick, can he go to the farm? If any one of you is sick at this minute, what are you going to do? You're not going to ask God for money. You're just going to, can I just get well? I will give away all my money just for health. But you take it for granted, because until you're sick, you don't bother about your health. Nobody does. You get up, you're well, you're fine. But the foundation of human life is based on healthcare. A healthy world is a productive world, is a society that will thrive. The healthier people are, the better we can actually do things that we want to achieve. So when you think about healthcare and you think about AI, and you bring those two things together, it literally touches every facet of human life. And some of the stats I will show you is, in healthcare, we produce 2.3 trillion gigabytes of non-structured data alone. I was in 2020. You know what non-structured data is, right? That is data that has no structure, that you can't do anything with it. It's either on paper, or it's on a book somewhere, or it's on some kind of a bit of a shitty software somewhere. 2.3 trillion, think about that. But ChatGPT, I'm sure you've all used ChatGPT. Anybody use ChatGPT? Raise your hand. Even my taxi driver yesterday was like, what do you think ChatGPT would say about taxes? I'm like, now this guy's a one. When your taxi driver starts asking you about ChatGPT, then you know something's really happening. But ChatGPT, in Cannes, we talked about it, and 175 billion data sets were structured. Do you know what that means? 175 billion data sets over 5 years of development in an R&D. Nobody asked them, you know how much money was spent just to R&D that thing first? It wasn't about how much money are they going to make today. No, it was about the future infrastructure of life. And I always say it in two ways. If you think about infrastructure, people always think about it from a hardware perspective, but I'll give you a very simple example. If you know there's oil offshore, what do? Anybody? What do? You build a pipeline, right? You build a pipe. So while you're building the pipe, are you going to try to sell the oil until you finish building the pipe? No. You invest in infrastructure to build the pipe. And one of the important things about data, and especially in healthcare, is the fact that in Africa, we have 0.187% of structured data. Just take that in for a second. 0.178% of structured data. That's it. That's all we have. Which means we're so far behind in terms of what we can do with the most important thing that we create. I am creating data right now. If somebody was capturing it, it could be structured. That's all it is. It's not rocket science. And if you look at the things that you can do with structured data, so before we even talk about what we can do with AI as Africans, first of all, we first need to just discuss data. Do we have the data? We produce it. It's not that we don't produce it. We do, nonstop. But do we have the data structured enough for it to make sense for the future? Because in data, data doesn't lie at all. It will tell you the truth. And if you think about what ChatGPT does, it's just what you call generative AI. You've taken so much information, you've trained it, and everything you tell it, it tells you exactly what the data has told it. That's all. And I'll tell you another secret. The more you keep asking ChatGPT questions, the more you're feeding it information. So you're actually the ones feeding it information going forward. So just be very wary of that. You're actually the one feeding it because it's collecting information from all of you all around the world, and it's learning faster. But if you go one step further, and then you think about AI, and you think about healthcare, and I want to share with you some data points. If you train one AI engineer, you'll feed 50 mama burgers. Standard. Because they'll make more money. It's the future of work. They will sit here in Nairobi, they'll make more money, they will become better entrepreneurs, and they will actually have more spending power for the same economy that we're talking about. So, effectively, in Africa, we have two problems. We have the problem of the now. We have to solve the now problem. Yes, we do. There's all these problems that we have to solve. I get you, and some people are doing that, but that doesn't interest me much. What interests me is the problem of the future, which is also present now. So we have to simultaneously try to meet the world where it's at the same time while solving our everyday problems. We cannot leave this thing to 5 years from now. I'm almost finished. We cannot leave this thing to 5 years from now because 5 years from now, the world has moved on. We don't build infrastructure in technology, and somebody talked about M-Pesa. M-Pesa is just a layer. It's a layer 2, layer 3 protocol. We don't own any layer 1 protocols. We don't build infrastructure in technology. So if we don't invest in, and this is a multi-trillion-dollar market, the biggest market in the world, if we do not invest in this market by actually training our young people, by providing capacity, and begin to see data as the center point of our future, as I love what we're doing here, it's great, but I promise you 4 or 5 years from now, you'll come back here again and the world would have moved on. So, to all the DFIs, all the NGOs, everybody who's pumping money into Africa, please also for 1 second stop and think, how do we help this continent become inclusive in this new form of technology? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John, for sharing your vision for the future of Africa. So moving right on, I would like to welcome Luni, who has been a serial entrepreneur and investor for over 30 years and is the founder of Africa Eats, a Pan-African holding company focused on feeding Africa. As we mentioned, we want to focus on the future. Luni has a very special announcement for all entrepreneurs and ecosystem players, so please welcome Luni.
All right, thank you. Actually, for the next 5 minutes, let's not talk about the future, let's talk about the present. All right? So in the present, there are tens of thousands of funded SMEs and startups in Africa. And there's probably millions of SMEs that would like to be funded. And we know that the biggest challenge of these companies is funding. We talk about that in many, many sessions at this conference and others. That's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the fact that there are hundreds of, or maybe even a few thousand other challenges that these SMEs face when they're growing from little companies to companies that earn tens of millions a year or hundreds of millions a year. And the fact is that we don't know what those challenges are because we don't talk about those. Those are held tightly by the entrepreneurs because they don't want to talk about the failures and they don't want to talk about the challenges. They want to talk about the successes. So we launched something here at Sankalp. We call it Africa Thrives. And it's a website and book series where the entrepreneurs share these challenges and their solutions. So we ran a workshop yesterday where we invited 6 entrepreneurs to actually just present them like case studies, present a challenge that they faced, let the audience talk about different ways to solve those problems, and then the entrepreneur provided the answer. And so there are, in room B2, there are entrepreneurs here who are recording interviews about these stories. Those will get transcribed, and those will be chapters in the book. We all launched this at the Africa Eats group. We launched this at the Land Accelerator. And we've asked every entrepreneur who would like to contribute to please write us a chapter. Just write us a little story, 1 or 2 or 3 pages long, talking about something other than funding that you faced as an entrepreneur and solved and how you solved it. And we're also inviting everyone who's not an entrepreneur. We would love the same things from entrepreneur support organizations. What challenges did you face? And the funders. Because the entrepreneurs don't know what we, the funders, what challenges we face. They think we're just full of money and everything's great with us. It's not, right? We face challenges too. So we want those stories as well. We want everyone to contribute a story. And in the end, the ideal dream of this is that when the next entrepreneur hits a challenge, they simply pick up the website or pick up the book or go to the website, look up that challenge, and here they have 5 or 6 answers. So we're doing this. We were asked yesterday, why on earth are we doing this? We're not a book publishing company. We're doing this because it's needed. We're doing this because it will help grow Africa faster. And that's what Africa Eats is about. We are an investment holding company. We have a very strange structure. If you would like to see our structure, we're talking about it at 1:30 in discussion area 1. We are an investment holding company that invests minority stakes in SMEs with no intent of ever selling them. We're just collecting them. We like them. We're helping them grow, and we would like to help as many grow as possible. And so go to africathrives.com and come and contribute a story. Thank you.
A better round of applause for Looney. He's doing very important work in the ecosystem. And thank you, Looney, for supporting African stories. And so to move on next, we have another TED Talk by Chris Orwa, who is a data scientist with over 12 years in the field, experience in the field, and has worked on a variety of data-driven projects in the past. Chris is an expert in data mining, predictive analytics, and machine learning. He has experience in leading teams and creating innovative solutions in banking, telecom, fintech, retail, and logistics. He's an active member of the data science community, participating in conferences and giving talks on topics related to data analysis. Chris has a passion for helping organizations make data-driven decisions and has helped many companies realize these business goals through the use of data. So please help me welcome Chris Orwa.
Hi, everyone. So, my name is Chris Orwa, or otherwise known as Black Orwa, online. Mostly in the nuts and bolts of building machine learning and AI applications that assist organizations to improve certain aspects of their business. So, today we're talking about the future and AI and machine learning are squarely placed in the future. So how do we build the future? There was one mad scientist, as we know him, who said, imagination is more important than knowledge. It's the imagination that gives us the future. Without imagination, there's no future. So we sit down and imagine what the future would be like. For example, who can recognize this image? There's one person there. Yes, this is from the movie called The Imitation Game, about how German scientists were breaking, English scientists were breaking German communication codes during World War II. And this photo is so interesting because it captures Alan Turing, who looked at the machine they were using at that time. It was the precursor to the computer. Henry realized one thing. If the problem became more complex, they'll need a larger computer, and at some point, a computer will be the size of a building. So he formulated a question. I propose to consider, can machines think? As humans, when a problem becomes complex, our heads don't become bigger to solve the problem. We just think better, reason better to solve that particular problem. So he figured out, can we make machines the same way? And he became the father of AI. He imagined that machines can be smart. Machines don't have to be rotary tools that we grow them as the problem becomes bigger. So he set all of us on the track of AI and machine learning. If you go to reading about academics, he wrote this famous paper in 1950, and the very first line, and the movie actually copied the title, The Imitation Game, where machines imitate humans. And he proposed the questions, can machines think? And he led off for everyone else to answer that particular question. Fortunately, he died a few years after this. If you go to a tool known as Ngram Viewer, it's built on top of Google Books. You can search keywords, and then it lets you know the frequency of that word usage over time. So if you search machine learning on the tool, you can see after slightly 1955, when he set up the question, more people started researching about how do you make machines think. So in essence, we started building the future on that time. And definitely you can see around 1980s, the PCs became cheaper, and now everyone was like, okay, why do I use this machine thinking for? So initially it was physicists who were using it to solve complex equations, but then now business people came in and it's like, okay, now I have a computer sitting next to my thing, what do I do? You use the machine learning software. That machine learning picked up until quite now recently, it's now the backbone of most AI applications. You definitely hear about credit scoring models, predicting rainfall, predicting outcomes in different areas. And so the future we're having right now was imagined almost 50 years ago. And now we have better machines, better ways of implementing that future. So now that the future is here, it allows us to answer very interesting questions and problems. For example, who is the person in the next slide? It's so interesting because I've not shown his face, but you can recognize him. So machines now the machine learning picks a lot of information that enables people decisions to be made without actually knowing everything about it. Abstraction, that's what you call it. If I placed my silhouette here, no one would recognize, because you've never met me before, you've never seen me in different scenarios, but your brain is the machine learning. You've seen Trump in different setups, so many things, and you've built an abstraction in your mind so that you don't need to see his face to know that's him. That's machine learning. That's AI. So we're making machines behave the same way. Go through personal records, tell me whether this person will default. Pick 5 things, abstract him with 5 things, and let me know if he'll default on a loan, yes or no. So the future allows us now to say who's this and answer questions. For example, where was this photo taken? Right. Now it becomes a little bit harder because as humans, it gets harder for us to solve this. But run this on Google Images. It'll tell you this photo was taken in Botswana. Because it can pick information that data becomes everything. The color, the height, how people are posing is all data that is used for making decisions. So this same mad scientist said again, he never thinks about the future because it comes soon enough. Certain things we thought that they're too futuristic, we blink and it's here because everyone is working in those solutions. For example, if we predict that we no longer have to read books, we just take some neutron, put it in our head, connect it to a computer, and all that information gets into a brain. It seems very out of this world. But we know a mad billionaire who is already building a chip to interface to your brain so that you can transfer information either when you're sleeping or do something else, and they're already doing tests with the monkeys, rats, to figure out whether you can induce some information to them. And I would wager that 2 to 3 years, this will be tested for patients who have difficulties in mental states and they need some form of information passed to them. So the future is here. And as much as we think sometimes it's too very far away from that. One of the things that which it's like a silent futuristic thing that Zig tried out was called V2V, vehicle-to-vehicle communication. So that 2 vehicles, when they pass each other, they exchange information about location, speed, weight, and everything that's there. And you have all these vehicles communicating that would almost eradicate accidents. Because part of the reason is the driver doesn't know what else is happening. If someone is coming at high speed, auto brake the car. This is already some things being tested by self-driving cars so that to eliminate almost 90% of the accidents that happen because of, if we just exchange information about speed, location, weight, so on and so forth, it will eliminate accidents. But now, for us in this part of the world, our AI and our future will mostly be applied in agriculture, our largest share of the economy, about 40%. And that's very specifically to what we refer to precision agriculture. Currently, we're facing droughts, at least for the most part of the country. It's best to place your futuristic technology in where you have the most problem and where you generate most of the money. Very good example, this is southern Tanzania area called Sankalp, where they grow a lot of maize. I'm quite happy to see some partners here that I know about. And this is using satellite imagery to predict the likelihood of drought happening. So if you have satellite images for every month, and it can tell you the vegetative cover for that particular area, then AI comes in, machine learning comes in, and that makes predictions about certain areas. For now, our small farms, we have drones, and those drones equipped with cameras, and now layering that information from the drones into processing via machine learning and AI. Now we get far much better precision agriculture. One of the good things is, this already still happening, not on a large scale, is drones flying over farms taking thermal images. What does that give you? It gives you plant health, cover areas soaked up with, if there's too much water in one area of a farm, and this is just bus flying over the drones in this. Once you take the same drones images, some specialized analysis skills helps you to identify diseased plants, plants that are too clustered close to each other, plants that don't receive too much water, and then that sends information to a farmer that go to X, Y areas in your farm, either change the soil, either apply pesticides, or space your plants better. So we can actually eat well and supply with the world with what we're most good at, good coffee, flowers, and etc. of that. So the future, for us at least, will come from two things. Connectivity and data would give us the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chris, for sharing your vision with us. And yes, connectivity and data should be the future. From AI to climate change. So moving us along with our conversations on the future, we'd like to invite the next speaker, Apna Shrivastava. I don't know whether I've butchered your name. If I have, you correct me. Who is a climate adaptation and international development specialist with a decade of experience including sustainable development and humanitarian work across East Africa, Central America, South and Southeast Asia. Currently, Apna is a political appointee in the Biden-Harris administration and serves as the Deputy Chief Climate Officer at the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. Please help me welcome Apna. A better round of applause for Apna.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much to the organizers for having me. So my name is Aparna Srivastav, and I'm the Deputy Chief Climate Officer at the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. The Climate Office at the DFC was established in 2021 by the Biden-Harris administration in recognition of a few key things. One, that climate change is the existential crisis of our time, that massive investment is required to address this crisis, and that developing countries around the world are especially vulnerable. And given all of that, DFC is uniquely situated to mobilize the investment needed to address climate change in the developing world, especially across Africa. This crisis, as I don't need to tell you all, is very real to the people of Kenya and throughout the Horn of Africa, which is now facing what is expected to be another rainy season with low rainfall. When rain doesn't come, crops fail, people lack food, and sometimes are even forced to flee their homes. This is why addressing climate change is critical to the world today and to the future. And so in a moment, I'll tell you a little bit about the work that DFC is doing in the climate change space. But let me pause and probably answer the question you're asking, what is DFC? So DFC is the US government's development finance institution. We're mandated to partner with the private sector to address the most pressing challenges facing the world, and climate change is a key area of priority. With a $60 billion investment cap, we have investments across 100 countries around the world, including 38 countries across Africa. We have an extensive suite of tools ranging from debt, equity, political risk insurance, and technical assistance, along with authority to invest in funds to address the most pressing development challenges. And this is truly why I personally am here, is really to help build up our investment pipeline and find companies that DFC can partner with to address these challenges. We, and I especially, am super interested in partnering with innovative businesses developing climate solutions. So please do check out dfc.gov for a little bit more information on our products and eligibility. So on to adaptation specifically. Historic floods, droughts, storms, and heat waves, as we all know, are becoming increasingly common and pose a near-term threat, especially in the developing world, where livelihoods are often tied to the natural environment. Drought trends here in the Horn of Africa are now worse than they were in the 2011 famine that claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. And the current low rainfall year could become the 6th consecutive drought in parts of Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, as well as Somalia. where drought has displaced millions of people. And as severe as drought is, we know that this is only one of many consequences of a changing climate. Last year, we all saw in Pakistan, for example, historic flooding resulting in thousands of deaths, displacements of millions of folks, and destructions of hundreds of thousands of buildings. And so one of the key challenges climate change is presenting is the uncertainty of the impacts in terms of how it will manifest. And so when it comes to DFC, there's a few key areas where our work is really working to push the envelope. One is that we're really positioned to address a massive need. President Biden has appropriately called climate change as the existential threat of our time, and also has identified climate finance as an essential tool to address this crisis. The estimated cost to developing economies to adapt to the effects of climate change are expected to surpass hundreds of millions of dollars every single year. And this is an amount that can only be met with private investment. Public budgets will not be sufficient. In 2022, DFC had a record year in terms of commitments more broadly, but specifically in climate finance. I'm proud to state that we invested over $2.3 billion in climate-related investments across the globe, and this really reflects a wide range of opportunities. So not just while mitigation investments in renewable energy, solar and wind are very, very critical, alongside those investments, DFC is also looking at investments in agriculture, food security, water security, the built environment, electric mobility, and really recognizing the wide range of impacts that climate change is having across a wide range of sectors, and therefore the wide range of opportunities that presents for support and investment. So one thing I'll draw your attention to specifically is that last year at COP27 in Egypt, DFC announced a major push to accelerate adaptation investments across a wide range of sectors. This is a part of a whole of administration approach that the Biden administration has launched, called the President's Emergency Plan for Adaptation and Resilience, otherwise known as PREPARE. It's an initiative focused on helping developing countries cope with the impacts of the climate crisis. So as part of this push, we as DFC are accepting business proposals to support adaptation and resilience investments in a few key sectors, including agriculture, water, built environment, and health. Throughout the day today, please do find myself and a few of my colleagues that are here as well to learn more about this push, and you can also find more information on dfc.gov/climate. Some of these investments may take the form of things like crop insurance, precision agriculture, as we've just heard about, solar water pumps, climate-resilient infrastructure, cold chain storage, for example, and a wide range of other opportunities. In terms of investments that we have already made in this space, especially on the adaptation side, include financing for the Insure Resilience Investment Fund that's helping develop insurance for smallholder farmers in climate-vulnerable populations across the world. In Mozambique, DFC is helping Mavuvi Holdings expand drought-resilience aquaculture facilities. And in South Africa, DFC's technical assistance is supporting development of a proof of concept that would scale the development of waterless toilets. The climate crisis cannot be solved without private investment and innovation. We as DFC are eager to help mobilize that investment and are committed to supporting the small and large businesses alike that are a source of so much innovation and impact. We are really excited to hear about your solutions, so please do get in touch. Again, that website is dfc.gov/climate, and please find us today. Thank you.
I never listen to no hearsay. They say who say they never know say forever together.
Really great initiatives from your end. Thank you very much. And I can see that we are just about to have a networking session. So we are nearing the end of this session. So please help me welcome the next group of speakers. This is Chuck Onike, who is a program officer at Visa Foundation. Before holding this role, he was a senior associate at the Rockefeller Foundation and on the data and technology team, where he contributed to shaping and executing the foundation strategy. And he's also being joined by some of the partners of Visa Foundation, Nanko Madu, who's the director of programs at AfriLabs, and a representative of Andia, who was supposed to be here from the Gresham Marshall Trust, Coco, who is the entrepreneurship lead. Welcome, guys.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Like I was shared earlier, my name is Chukwudi Onike. I'm a program officer at Visa Foundation, and I've been with the foundation for about a year and a half. I'm going to pause there because I'm pretty sure most of you have not heard of Visa Foundation, and so I'll start a little bit with the foundation itself. So Visa Foundation is a relatively new foundation. We've been in existence for about 7 years, maybe 5 years in operation. And the mission of the foundation is to advance and foster inclusive economies globally. A huge chunk of our portfolio is in Africa, and we have done that mainly through one of our core initiatives called the Equitable Access Initiative. So in 2020, Visa Foundation launched a $200 million initiative that was focused on supporting women-led businesses and diverse entrepreneurs globally. We had 3 goals. One was to grow the pipeline of women-led businesses globally. 2 was to address systemic barriers to access to capital for entrepreneurs. And then 3 was to influence capital markets writ large so that they can prioritize women and apply gender lens investment to their work. And we did that to 3 core pillars. We have that 3 core pillars to our strategy. The first one is around business capacity development or technical assistance provision. We're working with businesses and entrepreneurs through intermediaries, to help them be more investment ready or investable. So anything from accelerated programs to incubators or other forms of wraparound services that businesses need to be able to be ready to engage the capital markets. The second bucket of our work focuses on ecosystem support, and that's where we really work with, for the most part, we work with networks to bridge the gap between the capital and the entrepreneurs. And the third bucket has been around catalyzing investments. And so Visa Foundation works through grants and investments. We like to say we work through the capital, across the capital continuum to help channel more resources to the entrepreneurs so that after they've been strengthened, after they've been trained and helped to become ready for investments, then we can then plug them to sources of funding so that they can then scale their businesses. And like I shared earlier, none of this work is possible without partners. And to date, we've made over $100 million in investments. And today, we're very excited to announce 2 new partners. I'm gonna let them share themselves, but we have the Gresham Marshall Trust that's represented here by Corcor, and we have AfriLabs that is represented by my dear friend Nanko. So it's probably better to hear from them than from me, but I just wanted to say we're very excited to have them here. We're very excited to be at Sankalp, and we're also very excited to connect and engage you all as well. But let me pass it over to Corco, who can share a little bit more about her work.
Thank you, Chuck. My name is Coco Kujo. My colleague, Andia, was supposed to do this, but I'm going to do this on behalf of the Gresham Marshall Trust. So bear with me whilst I get my my little speech out. Okay. So my name is Coco Kujo. I lead the women, I'm the entrepreneurship lead at the Gresham Marshall Trust. The Graça Machel Trust was established in 2010. We are a Pan-African, women-founded and led organization headquartered in Johannesburg with a presence in Nairobi and a network footprint across 17 countries. We work with women entrepreneurs to strengthen their capacity to transform their businesses from income generation to wealth creation. To date, our activities have impacted 14,000 lives across Africa, primarily in agribusiness, trade, services, creative industries, agro-processing, and manufacturing. We are also nurturing a gender-lens investment fund to invest in businesses in East and Southern Africa, leveraging our programmatic interventions and network activities. We're actively seeking partnerships to collaborate with. We also leverage the influence of our founder, Graça Machel, and our network partners to address contextual barriers that women are facing at the national, regional, and continental level. When we shared our core areas of work with Visa Foundation, they were encouraging. Rather than keep us siloed, they embraced integrated programming that sees us utilize our assets across this program. Over the next 18 months, Graça Machel Trust will see its flagship entrepreneurship program, Women Creating Wealth, scale into Uganda, Kenya, and South Africa. And this is a program that is already initiated in Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, and South Africa. The Firestarter initiative will see 100 women-owned businesses and medium-sized businesses in missing middle experience tailored support in investor readiness. In achieving this, Graça Machel Trust will, specifically, what we're going to do, I'm just going to really just summarize this. We have ambitious outcome to get women funded in this program. We have these objectives, but the primary objective, the core goal of this initiative will be to get women funded, to get our investment vehicle to reach close, and to influence policy, and none of these would have been possible without the partnership of Visa Foundation. Sometimes people ask, how did we get to meet Visa Foundation? And we say online. This is Andia. We wrote an article on financing the missing middle, which they liked and acted upon. The decision was also made within 3 months period. We are proud to be contributing meaningfully to the women economic empowerment and gender lens investment. And thanks to Visa Foundation for the support. Thank you.
First, I would like to thank Visa Foundation for the opportunity to be part of the partners working in pushing and financing women on the continent. On behalf of AfriLabs, my name is Nanko Madu, the Director of Programs. AfriLabs is a network organization of innovation and technology hubs on the continent. We have a membership of 400 hubs across 52 African countries. And our vision is to build a thriving innovation economy powered by the power of our community. AfriLabs, in the course of our work, realized that, there's a huge gap in gender inclusion, for women, and hence we designed and are pushing to implement the AfriLabs Rev Up Women. The program seeks to build the capacity of women, and building the capacity of women is not generic at all. In this instance, it's very tailored support, very contextual support to the African woman, building her capacity to run a business. And in addition to that, we are going to be giving funding. So the expected output of the program is to, over the next 5 years, train 50,000 women across 52 African countries. We're to provide financing for 1,000 of these women through matching funds, and we're looking to unlock $100 million worth of funding and investment through different investment vehicles. And lastly, we want to create 54 female mentor networks across the 54 African countries. It's important to create mentorship because we realize that women, beyond the funding and beyond the skills building, also need, an environment that they can thrive, that they can be themselves, and they can get support to succeed. Now, Visa Foundation has taken the first step in funding a part of this initiative, and they've provided us with funding to kick off the first cohort of the program. And so over the next 1 year, with the funding from Visa Foundation, we will be impacting 500 women in 5 African countries, including Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, DRC, and Cameroon. The continent, and we look at the future to get more funding towards this initiative so that at the end of 5 years, we're able to impact up to 50,000 women. Thank you so much, and thank you again to Visa Foundation for the opportunity.
Thank you very much to Vista Foundation for all the initiatives. And I know you're all eager to head off for networking and for sessions. Sessions are starting in 15 minutes. So you have about 15 minutes to be able to network outside, get some tea, and all those kind of things. This marks the beginning of the second day of Sankalp, and we look forward to an exciting day ahead. We hope you have a wonderful day and happy networking.